but very unusual answer in terms of how to make nuclear power safe in its essence, no? And that is through the use of beryllium oxide. Have you ever heard of that?
I've heard of it. I forgot what I heard it about.
Well, beryllium oxide turns out to have a very, very high melting point. It's half the temperature of the surface of the sun, about 4,000, a little over 4,000 degrees. And because of its characteristics, nuclear power on its own is unstable because of the heat characteristics. No? And if you are able to stabilize that, then you will not get the extremes of temperature and you will not be subject to the meltdown effect. And that, which is of course the greatest risk of a nuclear power plant. Assuming that that is true, but because kasi mahirap magtayo ng nuclear plant, no? And it takes a long time.
10 years.
And if we
It'll
don't
take
start,
us 10 years if we start today.
yeah, and all the countries, even India and the U.S. and France, they're all, and China, they're all putting up, they have in the works 10, 15, 20, 30 nuclear plants. In spite of what people say is the danger of nuclear plants. I don't think those governments would want to expose their people to that, but on the other hand, how do they advance? They cannot rely on fossil fuels anymore, like petroleum.
Well, that's what I was saying. Number one, it's the cost.
Oh.
The capital cost of a nuclear plant is about 3 times the cost of a coal plant. Number two, the lead time. You need 10 years. So it's not going to solve our problem tomorrow. Maybe in 10 years' time it might solve our problem.
So there is no political necessity to undertake it.
Third is the social acceptability. After what happened in Fukushima, you ask the people where they want to site the nuclear plants because we're having problem just citing our garbage dump.
Yung nuclear plant.
yung nuclear plant pa. So hindi po sila papayag. We have to find maybe an island somewhere in the middle of nowhere where we'll put up the nuclear plant, but the submarine cable is going to cost another arm and a leg.
So basically, you don't see any real prospects of lowering the power rates.
You must make about 5 to 10 adjustments, but it can be done, and we're working on that. We're encouraging new types of clean coal plants to be put up, so we'll have a better base load. You see, we need base load plants because they're the cheapest. When you bring in geothermal and you bring in
Hydroelectric.
No, hydro is cheap.
Mura nga ang hydro.
Natural gas, that's a mid-merit plant. So the prices are higher on a per kilowatt hour basis. Our hydros ideally should be used for our peaking
loads.
Yes, because you can release them at any time, and that would tend to stabilize the pricing in the entire system. Ideally, that's what we would like to see.
Pero tayo ba, are we all now well connected and integrated na ang network
No,
natin?
we're not.
Hindi pa rin?
No, we're not. We're not even connected to Mindanao. I've been fighting for that for almost 15 years now. Ayaw pumayag ang mga taga Mindanao.
Bakit daw?
Because they're enjoying the lowest rates because of the Agus Pulangi plant. So ang sinasabi nila doon, gusto lang ninyong gamitin yung elektrisidad galing sa Agus Pulangi doon sa Visayas. Sabi ko, teka muna.
Pero pati sila kinukulang na ngayon eh.
That's precisely what happened. When I warned them that you're going to run short of power in 10 years, because they asked in the IPIRA for a 10-year exemption on the privatization of Agus Pulangi. So I said, okay, we'll give you the 10-year exemption, but I warn you, in 10 years you're running short. They didn't listen. They ran short last year. They still don't want to connect.
Ayaw pa rin nila.
Ayaw pa rin nila.
All right. So, I guess we're just gonna have to left parang fact of life yan. It's not something that can be easily resolved. Although I think there is still a lot of problems in the structures and the interconnections of the power provider, the transmission company, etc., etc. And whatever they have done to try to deregulate or at least open to more competition, it has not brought about lower prices. So do you think those structures still need to be examined?
We never promised to bring about lower prices. We promised to bring about reasonable prices. Now, you will remember, prior to that, it was the government that was building and owning the plants. So the plants were pretty much extremely inefficient. I mean, you know that.
Yeah. No,
we had coal plants, we had hydro plants that were only running at about 70% of their installed capacity because they didn't have the money to just repair it, upgrade it. You need the private sector.
How much of the cost of electricity today is due to the stranded costs of Napocor? Ang laki nun eh.
No, not much.
Hindi na ngayon issue yun.
No, it's not an issue anymore. It's about 40 centavos. That's all that's being charged. They're asking for more. But we said no.
Why doesn't the government just lump that once and for all and write it off?
Government doesn't have the money. We already swallowed 200 billion pesos of Napocor debt. The other 200, we refinanced it, extended it to 17 years, and it amounted to about 40 centavos per kilowatt hour.
Bakit dun? Wala kayong investigasyon kung sino, who was responsible for the 200 billion peso debt?
No, we did. We had.
Pero wala pa kayo napapakulong o napapacharge?
Unfortunately, all of the contracts were done through bidding.
Oh.
So you couldn't prove that finifix yung bid. But you must remember, at that time, we were the beggars. So everybody who was coming here knew we needed to have plants set up right away. So they were charging an arm and a leg.
Okay.
Now, the problem is they over-ordered. Okay, so not only did they agree to high rates, higher than normal, nag-over-order. And they used the NEDA to project a growth of about 8% GNP, and times 1.6. They use a multiplier of 1.6. Ergo, we were ordering power plants right and left. Of course, the economy never grew at 8%, much less 8 times 1.6. Actually, we're growing, our power demands have been growing. They've been tracking the growth in the GDP, which has always been historical. So you can say thank you to the NEDA and the Ramos for that.
Well, all right. May iba naman tayo ng konti ng usapan, no? A little bit more controversial. I hope you don't mind that I bring it up. Medyo, the papers have come out with differing statements from some other senators about what's going on in your Senate inquiry with respect to whether there is inside trading or behest loans. O anong take mo sa mga sinasabi ni Cheese at saka ni Miriam?
Well, no, Miriam just wanted it investigated by the SEC and not by the Senate.
Well, that is really the venue for insider trading, no? It's really the SEC.
It will go to the SEC. But the Senate is conducting its investigation in aid of legislation. There's too much loopholes in our law. If you read the Securities Regulation Code, which we passed in the year 2000, if you look at the General Banking Act, talagang we have to tighten up. For example, insider trading, that wasn't raised in the resolution. However, Senate President Enrile said during the last hearing that Manny Pangilinan
was the only one who knew.
Manny Pangilinan was the one who told him that
he was buying?
No, not only that he was buying, that he had made a deal with Ong Pin at 21 pesos way before the November transaction.
Well, it would seem to me that, however, kinontra naman ni Miriam yun ni Senator Santiago, because she said that Manny Pangilinan had made it public he was buying shares. So I don't care does it matter whether Senator Enrile was told? No,
Manny Pangilinan. She doesn't know what she's talking about. Anyway, it's not whether you were buying, because Manny had announced already that he wanted to buy up to 40% of Philex. And I said that during the hearing. But they didn't know the price. Well,
obviously, Manny is smart enough not to broadcast the price.
No, that's beside the point. So when DBP, and later on SSS sold its shares at, no, it was not SSS who sold it, DBP sold its shares at 12.75, they didn't know Manny was willing to pay 21.
I think a large part of that may have been a question of how much was available. When I think the 12.75 was sold basically to Ong Pin, no? Okay.
But before that, Ong Pin knew that Manny Pangilinan was paying 21.
Okay. Well, I
So
guess
that was trading on information that the market did not know.
okay. The problem there is who conducted. In other words, why then would